You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line, and out of nowhere, we have two new callers. So let us get started with that. New caller number one, what is going on?
Hi, Ryan. This is Paul from Missouri.
What's up, dude?
Been listening for quite a long time. Love the show.
Appreciate
you. Not the type to really call in unless I have something valuable to add. So I had some thoughts while listening to the grades episode the other day. I used to have CFS myself, and back when I could actually afford discretionary spending like that. And I noticed kind of the same trend with Packers linemen that you have over the years. We have good to elite pass blocking, poor to average run blocking pretty much across the board. And that average is basically at best. Yeah. I don't think we've had like a single elite run blocker going back to the early Rodgers days. But that said, there have been a few anomalies. Like early last year, Malik Willis. Matt LaFleur didn't trust Malik Willis. We ran the ball like 50 times per game. You'd think the defenses that we played against would have been stacking the box, stopping the run, but they knew Malik was not going to be throwing it more than 10 times a game, and they still couldn't stop it. And I noticed the same thing last week against the Vikings with Clayton Tune. Despite the Vikings having a really good run defense, knowing we were going to run the ball heavily, it seemed like they couldn't really stop the ball, or at least stop the run. Like, at least they did run the ball above expectations, I would say.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And I think the main reason for that is that since run blocking and pass blocking are so different from an offensive line perspective, like your mindset has to be completely different in pass pro, which is reactive, and run blocking, where you have to just get nasty and be aggressive. When we've had quarterbacks playing like Rodgers or Love that are trusted by the coach, every run play is also a pass play. So I feel like if you're an offensive lineman, you're kind of not really sure if you should, even if it's a run play, you're not really sure that it's necessarily going to be a run play because Jordan could throw it. And we've kind of been burned in that, in that way in the past because Love has held the ball a little bit too long. And,
Oops. All right. Part two, Paul in Missouri.
Hey, this is Paul from Missouri again. I forgot about the time limit. Just to finish up my thought is, I think that the big difference between running the ball well when we have a backup quarterback versus Love and Rodgers is when we run the ball with a backup quarterback at under center, the offensive linemen know for a fact that a run play is a run play. And they don't have to worry about illegal man downfield penalties because they know that a pass is not on the table. Obviously, when you have Love or a quarterback that you trust, you would never want to take that off the table because if you have Devontae Adams out wide with a cornerback playing 10 yards off, you're going to take those 3 yards every time. So I'm not sure what the fix really is. Do we just need to coach them to be aggressive and also tell Love, you have to just throw the ball. Even if it doesn't look good, you decide pre-snap to throw the ball, and then post-snap, you don't like it, just throw it at their feet. But I'm curious to see if you've talked about that or if you have any thoughts on that. And one last note I wanted to mention is that I think Jordan Morgan is going to be legit at left tackle after watching him last week. Other than the sack, which looks really bad, but to go back to my last point, I think blocking has a lot to do with scheme and who's at quarterback. And that sack looked so bad and so it looked like such an anomaly that I just think had more to do with Tune being at quarterback and confusion about the snap count than anything to do with Jordan Morgan as a player. But anyway, go Packers. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, starting with the last point with Morgan, the sack that he gave up, you can see that the edge rusher timed the count perfectly. I mean, he was already moving before Morgan, and it's really hard as a tackle to be able to jump and catch a guy that's like shoulder to shoulder with you by the time you move, you know? And I think similar to what you said as far as scheme being the issue, I think whether he got lucky or whether they were timing our snap count, either way, the issue is kind of the same. But I agree. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm hopeful. I'll say that that works out. I think it's an interesting point you brought up. I think if it was just Malik, it would have been easier to kind of disregard what you're talking about because, they're run first, but you have to be very cautious when you have a mobile quarterback. You can't sell out against the run the same way. So it creates so many issues for teams. But you're right as far as the Clayton Tune thing, because this is I guess you could call him mobile. He's mobile in the way that Jordan's mobile. He's not a real throw. The Dolphins fired Mike McDaniel. There you go. There's your offensive coordinator, folks. Anyways, sorry, I got to stop picking on our offensive coordinator. But yeah, the Clayton Tune thing definitely raises some questions as to how we are able to impose our will in the run game against a stout run defense, considering we understand our offensive line to be unable to impose our will even when we're a primarily passing offense. Seems kind of odd to be able to do that. So yeah, I think that's a very good point. Hadn't really considered that, especially the downfield thing, the ability to just sell out and block somebody clear off the screen, as opposed to having to worry about, could it be if it's some kind of a run pass option kind of thing that they run a lot, you're kind of half run blocking, half pass blocking kind of thing. There's probably a lot that goes into all this, but I think it's at least an interesting point to consider. Could this be a much better or possibly even good run blocking unit if they were just run blocking? Like if this was just an effort of, we're going to sell out 100% on this very specific run block, as opposed to the nuance that is very deep, right? We don't acknowledge it nearly as much. I mean, just the couple points that you brought up are kind of like, oh yeah, it's a fair point. We don't really think about it. We just think about pass blocking is protect the quarterback, and if it's pass fail. And run blocking is push somebody out of the way, and it's pass fail. You either do it or you don't. But that's definitely not the case. So yeah, it's interesting, and on there's that as well as the backdrop of just guys possibly getting better. Belton, I saw some of the. I mean, he had a great day according to PFF, but just seeing some of the highlights of that were really impressive. So and a lot of it wasn't just what you would expect. I mean, Belton's just a big, you assume he's a big giant guy that can't move very fast, so he just probably steamrolled people, and there was one or two of those. But a lot of it was using athleticism to cut off angles and whatnot. Very, really impressive stuff. I'm assuming it's an anomaly. He's not going to do that every single week with like a 70s and 80s in run and pass blocking. But man, if he could just do that more often, maybe do that once in a while, kind of, he's a second-round pick. It's not crazy to be like, well, could he be Zach Tom, the fourth-round pick? Of course. I mean, I would hope so. I would hope Jordan Morgan could be that too. Obviously, when they were drafted, they were expected to be more than what they thought Zach Tom was going to be, or Zach Tom would have been a first-round pick. So, we'll see. But yeah, it's a solid observation. Unfortunately, we're back to Jordan. The question then becomes, do they acknowledge what you're talking about, and could they possibly make some tweaks? My assumption would be no, because at the end of the day, everything comes back to pass blocking. And if that means the run blocking suffers, I don't think the Packers care. And, maybe there are some minor tweaks like you had mentioned, but I don't know. We're very, very out there in the theoretical realm to know any of this, but it's definitely interesting to think about. All right, new caller. Oh, and by the way, appreciate the call, Paul, and hope to hear from you again. New caller number 2.
Hey, Ryan, this is Jason.
What's up, dude?
I've been a long time listener. I've talked to you a couple times on Patreon, but I always felt kind of weird about calling in.
For sure.
However, this time, Bears week, playoff, pretty nervous, man. I got some jitters. I can't stop thinking about the game. Really want to beat the Bears. I can't stand the Bears. I'm glad the rivalry is back. Man, I'm so nervous about this game, and because I need some hype, man. I need to get more hype for this game. I don't need stats.
Yeah.
I don't need logic. I need you to just get me emotionally ready, just pumped up. Let's do this. Chicago, they're not great, but they are playing well enough to they're playing like they want it, and they're coming back. They're doing good things, and that's got me worried. Our defense has just feels like it's been getting worse and worse.
Right.
I know the Packers, outdoor weather team, supposed to be that's our thing, but I feel like it's really not, especially in Chicago with the wind and the cold, where they're going to be running all over us again. Our run game has not been exactly great. Wind affecting kicks, wind affecting the passes, and it's got me nervous. So come on, man, just hype us up. Let's get this game going. That's all I got.
I appreciate you, dude. I think I'm gonna go with Jason from Cali, if that's all right. I'm gonna, sometimes if I just get a first name, I'm gonna steal your area code. Sorry if you don't live there anymore, and that's an old phone number, but that's, I think, what we're gonna go with. Yeah, you're right. It's hard to do that. I mean, I guess it shouldn't be, but I mean, if you think about it, doing 60 minutes of yeah, let's get hyped. I mean, just think about your phone call. Could you do that for 45 minutes? It's a lot. It's a lot. And we have 2 days. I can try to, you're right. I should try to direct it more so that way. More than likely, though, the hype episode, we probably should just do one hype episode for Saturday. But we'll see. I got 2 more to record, one for tomorrow, one for Saturday. I do want to do a look at the referees, and I want to look at some of the differences between the teams, which, I mean, that can be parlayed into optimism for sure, depending on the situation. I mean, I know we got some guys back like Zach Tom, which is massive, or presumably we have Zach Tom back. I don't know if that's officially official or just expected. But I'll do what I can, because you're right. We got 2 days to get hyped for what is possibly the last game of the season. I went back and looked, and we're favorites again. It seems like we swung from favorites to very quickly becoming underdogs to now we're favorites again. It's very minor swings. We're talking 1.5 points in both directions, but it is exactly how it should be. It's basically been a pick'em, and it's swinging back and forth every day between who's going to win. There's questions about extreme weather, which every time I look, it doesn't look that extreme to me. But just the fact that it's talked about and everything, things are lining up the way that they're supposed to be, which is good, because in the grand scheme of things, the way that things are supposed to be is the Packers are supposed to beat the Bears. The Packers are the better team. I mean, I'm not just talking about this year. I'm just talking about in life. So if things are going the way that they're supposed to, if this is lining up to look like a classic matchup with snow and everything else, that's good. I want the universe to come together and shine its light on this game, because I don't see how we come out of this losers in that regard. So I will keep that in the back of my mind as a favor to you, Jason. You're right, but I'll call it a favor to you. You mentioned Patreon. I really appreciate you supporting me over there. That means a lot. Obviously, now that this is our full source of income, which I am beginning to regret, I need you guys' help more than ever, so I appreciate you. Patreon.com/pack_daddy, by the way. Hopefully, and maybe you've already been there in the stream, I'm not sure, but if not, I'm hoping I'll see you on Saturday to join us for the Packers-Bears game live stream. All right, let's take our first break. Appreciate our new callers. Again, hope to hear from you guys. Usually we get that first call, and then we got long-term callers. You know what I mean? That's my hope. Oh, my Lord, we're talking about how bad Rashaan Gary's been again. Can we stop with this? Like, I'm planning on talking about that at some point, but I'm going to wait until the season's over. The amount of energy that is spent this week talking about how bad Rashaan Gary has been, good Lord, guys, can we stop? We got a playoff game in 2 days, and we need to do a deep dive on how disappointing Rashaan Gary's been. Okay. Anyways, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Ryan, I just want to talk about like everything this guy does. Like, yes, like it seems like he's got this good vibe and everything, but it just screams insecurity. Like, he has to talk about like the people he's affiliated with, people he respects. So like oh, I'm associated with Kevin O'Connell. I'm associated with Dan Campbell. I'm better than Matt LaFleur, right? I beat him twice a year. As like, we don't rest our starters. It's like always like having like the measuring thing. It's just like, I like Matt LaFleur. There are some things that just drive me crazy, but a lot of stuff drives me crazy, so it's okay. But with like Matt LaFleur, when something happens, it's like, well, this is what we're built, and we're gonna come in and do it. It's like there's no excuses, and they're just, it's just like, well, we had to. We don't rest our starters. We're not like he doesn't have this like, oh yeah, well, we don't do that, because he's just like, oh, the Packers, Packers rested theirs. We don't do that. So what a baby! He's a little baby. All right, go back out.
Yeah, it is, and this reminds me of Detroit, which is obviously where he comes from, but it's just all bravado. And it's a little bit unfair because I think he's a good play caller, but bravado is fake. Bravado is fake, and it's great when you're winning. But I've said this about emotion. Emotion is great. I mean, when you're winning and you're an emotional team, you are scary. And that's the Bears, who are now on a 2-game losing streak, by the way. But when you start losing, that emotion works against you. And so, that's my hope with the Bears. I doubt that it's hurting them too much at this point, especially with Caleb being kind of at the front of it. Caleb seems to, he is not lacking for confidence. I mean, he spent an entire first year being dog crap and being called dog crap and all this stuff. And he comes back and he's still like, I'm the greatest. And he's got the swagger to him, which is annoying to be confident and delusional that way. It's going to be hard to break him. But everybody else on the team, I mean, you lose, it's going to start to affect you a little bit. My hope is they get knocked out of the playoffs by the Packers, and we see sort of a Carolina Panthers thing, like I had talked about numerous times as like my ultimate example of emotion. That was a very emotional team led by a very emotional quarterback that went undefeated almost through the entire season, and then ended up losing the Super Bowl, and immediately came back. And not only did they lose that first game to the team that they played the Super Bowl to, but then it was right back to Cam Newton hanging his head, putting a towel over his head, whining, pouting, moaning. The whole team is just in this, and they sucked. I don't know if they went to the playoffs the next year. Maybe they did. I don't know, but they were nowhere near as good. So, at some point the bravado has to give way to actual talent, which I think they are somewhat lacking. Not to mention their roster construction is not really conducive to long-term success. They got some young, guys, they're wide receivers, an offensive lineman, a tight end. But, I don't think that's a long-term solution, the sort of emotional side of it. And I'm hoping that begins to work against them at some point, because I don't think that's necessarily the best way to go about doing things. I think ultimately the best teams you're going to find are guys that are even keel. That doesn't mean completely emotionless. It just means, it's not, we're not going to get up by, injecting you with emotion. You look at the Bill Belichick's of the world. And again, I don't mean you have to be emotionless like Bill Belichick necessarily, but at the end of the day, we win because we're disciplined, not because we're wild and reckless. And you look at that last Bears-Packers game, that was a reckless Chicago Bears team. They're out there getting penalties. They're flying around. They're hurting people. They're lowering their head. They're playing violent because they're all jacked up. They're not being disciplined. They're being the opposite of disciplined because they want to go out and be violent and be reckless and be crazy. Bill Belichick's teams won because they're the most disciplined. And, look at Andy Reid's teams. It's very similar. They do their job and they do it very, very well. They don't start getting crazy. They just, they're robots. They get down in the first half. They're losing by, 14. They're losing by 17. They come back and they just do their job and they execute and they execute and they execute and they execute. And they just keep doing their job, and then eventually they win. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Chicago Bears. The ideal thing, if I was, a Bears fan or in some position over there, it would be, we have to, it's nice to get that initial shot of adrenaline, but at some point we have to shift it. At some point we have to shift away from emotion and more toward, just discipline and doing our job. Now that you guys know the job, because at first nobody knows their job, nobody knows anything, so you're kind of wild, you're young, you're reckless, you're all this stuff. We have to start transitioning to being this cold, robotic, disciplined unit. And if they don't make that switch, and if he's just going to keep running his freaking mouth, and they're going to keep being this wild and reckless, and and even look at how they're winning with all the picks, that's not something that's sustainable. It's just not. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's like if you're winning based on emotion and turnovers, you're not going to be a good team going forward. Next year I don't have a ton of hope for you. But again, I will have more hope for you if you're transitioning. We're not just a defense that wins based on picks. We win based on good gap assignment, solid tackling, doing our job, not being penalized. Offensively, it's not just these triumphant fourth quarter comebacks. We are disciplined. We execute in all four quarters and all, phases. That's when you're a good team.
And I'm not trying to get too ahead and thinking about off-season stuff, but this game, it could be our last game. We want it to be, the first game on the way to the Super Bowl, but just with how things are, we have to see something out of Rashaan Gary. And short of there being some sort of secret injury we don't know about, he needs to play strong this game. And if he doesn't, I think we need to post June 1 him. If he just continues to not live up to his contract, to post June 1, you re-sign Kingsley, and then you give Baron Sorrell some more run, because it's one game, and they're a decent team, the Vikings, right? So it's like it's not they got good edges and stuff. I mean, good tackles and stuff. So I'm fine. I'm fine with it. He's an elite run defender, and there was a time when he was a good pass rusher, but he just never seems like he's never recovered from that ACL, unfortunately. So I think unless he absolutely just shows up like on some sort of playoff run and goes crazy, short of that, I think we're at that time knocking on the door saying it's over.
Just said I wasn't going to talk about Rashaan, and here we are. Look, there's a lot of factors. Number one, again, the fan base is too down on him because of the sacks. It's just sacks. The pressures have been perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with his pressures. The sacks are a problem. There's no doubt about it. Again, my biggest issue is just his lack of playing time. You know, if you're going to be paid this much, you need to be out there all the time, and he's not. Which also affects how many sacks he gets, by the way. I am solid in my position. I mean, it's possible they just want to move on. And I don't think one game is going to make that big of a difference. What if he gets a sack, all of a sudden he's in? Who cares? And then he had one sack in 10 games or something. That doesn't change anything. And if he gets, one sack and a bunch of pressures, well, he always gets pressures, so that's no different. My assumption is they're going to, again, there's two. One is they decide we're just moving on. I don't think that that's necessarily the case, but what I do think is they're going to do what they've done to a lot of people and say, we would like to possibly restructure, but more than likely, we're going to cut your salary, and you can either take it or leave it. And if you leave it, then we're letting you go. And I don't think we even need to post June 1 him. His salary cap hit is $28 million. His dead cap is $17 million. So we save $11 million just releasing him, and then we have nothing on the cap in 2027. I think that would be the better way to do it. I don't know if there's any trade value for him at all on his current contract. Although with only $17 million left in dead cap, I would assume there's not. Well, I guess his base salary is $18 million, so that would be the contract that the team would take on. I don't think anything else goes over. I don't necessarily think the roster bonuses and workout bonuses, although that's relatively minor. So it'd be $18 million and $21 million that they would take on. Does he have any value at that? Maybe. I know a lot of Packer fans say no because again they severely underestimate his value, but remember, we paid Za'Darius $18 million in 2018. That was 7 years ago, and that was a guy that had never hardly done anything. So $18 million is very, very low for a pass rusher. I don't know. I don't know if there's any value in that or not. But that would be my thought: is that it's going to be a conversation of we're not paying you this, and you can either, again, restructure maybe. I can't imagine it would. I mean, there's basically nothing to restructure. The only thing you could possibly do is bring down this cap hit and make it so that next year is a guaranteed cut. Because his cap would just be way too high and you're not going to extend him or whatever. It would just be like a 1 year locked in extension. It doesn't really make any sense. And there's no reason to, because nobody's going to pay him this much money. He's never going to make this much money. And the Packers find themselves in this situation all the time. It's one of the benefits of actually giving these kinds of contracts because, in addition to all the other outs that teams generally would have, they also just have the ability to go to you and say, you're not that good, I'm going to cut your pay, or I'm going to cut you outright. And then they usually accept the pay cut because they know that if they do get cut, they're not going to make that much money anyways. So that would be, that currently that is my thought, without having put a lot of thought into it. I wasn't planning on putting a lot of thought into it. But again, that's kind of where we're at. I do think it's true, by the way. I know I defend him all the time, but you're right about the decline since his ACL. There's no question about that. I mean, again, he's not as bad as everybody says that he is, but he's clearly not as good as he was. And that's the reality. And that's common. That's almost always the reality. It's not just a Packers thing. I know Packer fans are like, this is terrible. Why would you pay? Everybody would have paid him. Everybody does pay these guys in these situations. And a lot of times they do decline. That's just the reality of the NFL. That's not a flaw in our GM. That's just how the NFL works. And it's always worked and it always will work. You can't let these guys go. You can't offer them less money because they won't take it. You can't say I'm not paying these kinds of contracts anymore because you'll never end up with a team. You'll end up cutting everybody by the time their contracts roll around, with the exception of a handful of people. But I already know the majority of these people would not have paid Jordan. They would have not have paid Rashaan. I don't know who they would have paid. I can't think of too many people that they would have been happy paying. Maybe Zach Tom, but I think even then people were like, oh, it's too much money. Very rarely do I hear the, that's too much money crowd say that was a good deal. Occasionally, but not enough to field a team, that's for sure. All right, we'll take our final break. We'll come back. We got Chris from Alabama.
What's going on, Ryan? Chris from Alabama.
What's up?
All right, everybody, man. We got Packers Bears round 3. Packers Bears round. Playoffs are here. Time to put all the stuff from the regular season behind us. Records don't matter no more. Stats don't matter no more. None of that matters no more. Only thing that matters right now, we have 16 quarters of ball to play. We're trying to play 16 quarters, everybody. 16 quarters. Wild card, divisional, championship bowl. Trying to play 16 quarters of football, and we're trying to come out with the ultimate prize. I know I'm in the minority. I'm confident that we will win this football game Saturday night. Should have won both meetings between the teams. This team is not better than our team, even as constructed right now. With all the injuries that we have, I still feel like we have enough to beat the Chicago Bears. Like I said, I know I'm in the minority. I'm in the minority of a lot of things right now that I can. I don't even want to get off into this field. I basically want to say playoff time. Everybody's record is the same right now. Everybody is 0-0. Can you go 4-0? Can you play 16 quarters of good football, great football, good enough football to get it done? I really feel like we can win this game. And I feel like I just feel like we got their number, man. Like I still feel like the Bears, they have improved, but I still don't feel like they're a really good football team. They're a decent to okay to good football team. I mean, but they can be beat. You know why their defense is? Their left tackle is still a weak spot. And the last couple of weeks, I know they had a shootout with San Francisco, but honestly, San Francisco defense is first off now. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that they could move the ball, but they moved the ball on them too. They scored 38 on San Fran, but San Fran scored 42. And then the Lions game, they didn't look too tight on offense. So, even with them playing their starters, I think the game is ours for the taking. We should win this game.
Part 2, Chris from Alabama.
Yeah, we should win this game as long as we don't make the drastic mistakes that we made in the last meeting. As long as we don't make the mistakes we made in the last meeting, we should win this ball game. I just feel like we should. And I know a lot of people think that Ben Johnson kind of took a shot at us. I've been seeing it online. I don't know if nobody said nothing on it yet. But I've been seeing it online, Ben Johnson comments about, we don't risk our players like other teams and we're going to play and all that. Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, everybody, at this point, everybody knows Ben Johnson is a D-bag. He has D-bag tendencies. And he's trying to act like a big tough guy, whatever, whatnot. But to be honest, I really think that was more of a shot to Philadelphia than us. Because, I mean, he didn't have anything to play for. And if they didn't have anything to play for, I don't think their starter would have been out there. But
I still don't understand the Philly thing.
I mean, that's neither here nor there. I mean, if they want to, if the Packers want to listen to that and they want to add some more fuel fire to the flame to fire them up, by all means, go ahead. They're talking about you. I mean, it's just more fuel fire that, you know what I'm saying, this should be already a blaze of fire because it's playoff time. And, I mean, the rest of the starter thing, I'm not really worried about. I'm glad he did it. I mean, I know some people are talking about Love, you know, not playing for like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks or whatever. I ain't really worried about it. I mean, I can understand being just playing Caleb Williams. That game is his first year in the offense, so he needs every single rep. I mean, it's Love's third year. He knows the offense. He knows the in and out. He knows what to do. I mean, practice and watching film, yeah, you got a guy here physically do it, but I just don't think it's going to be no rush like that. Love knows his offense. Love knows the in and out. Watching film, make sure you know this what Chicago might have added from the last 2 meetings or the last 3 weeks, whatever. Man, we should be fine, man. But if we don't win, not the end of the world. It's going to be devastating. Don't get me wrong. But it's not the end of the world. I don't think. But I already know everybody going to overreact. Everybody needs to be fired. Everybody needs to be traded. All that good deal. We're not going to worry about that because we're going to win this football game and everything's going to be all good. Go Pack, go. I'll talk to y'all later.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about the overreaction is definitely going to happen. The fact of the matter is, again, this is a 50-50 game. If the Packers lose, is that some kind of a shocking, like, to delve too much into that as though that's some kind of an unacceptable result? I'm not going to sit here and talk about like as though we're going to, but let's just be serious about this. For 1 second, let's talk about the possibility that we lose. We lose in a game that's a 50-50 game. It's a coin toss game. And we're going to sit here and pretend that, we have to look through some magical playoff lens and like, well, he can't win playoff games and all that. Bro, it's a 50-50 game. We got just as much opportunity to win as lose. What are you talking about? It's such an absurd thing. I mean, did they need to become superhuman in the postseason where they just can't lose? What about the Bears? Do they have the opportunity to win? Do they have agency here? Are they also playing, or are they just some NPC in this video game that we're playing? They also are a football team that is expected to win by their fan base. They have coaches and they have players and they have all these different things. Everything is not just a reflection of the one person that you want it to be a reflection of. If we lose, then Matt LaFleur. What if Matt LaFleur does a great job and it's Jordan's fault? Will you change your opinion? Will you even notice, or will you just say that that's his fault too? What if it's because of the offensive line? What if it's because of the defense? Is it then Hafley's fault? The fact that we go into this predetermining already, if we don't win this, then it's Matt LaFleur. And you're right. If we lose, it's going to be. I'm sorry. I don't want to be that guy, but it's time. I've had enough. It's enough. And if policy's going to not fire him or seriously consider it, then he's the problem too, and he's not going to be the executive that I thought. I can already hear it, bro. We have the horses to win this game 5 times out of 10. All right? That's what we have. And we'll see what happens. And if we win, we have the horses to beat Seattle 2 or 3 times out of 10. Okay? And if we happen to do it, great. That's awesome. Maybe we'll go on a run. Maybe our talent level will increase. Maybe we'll get lucky. I don't know what's going to happen. But the reality is, win or lose, there's not going to be that many big takeaways. It's like I said with Rashaan Gary. If he has, a sack? Why would that change your opinion so much? And if he doesn't have a sack, that's going to change it. Why? Because it's a playoff game? I don't know. I mean, who actually has that ability to become superhuman just because it's more of an important game? And by the way, if that is a thing, why haven't you done this all year? Do you actually not care about these other games? I kind of expect you to give 100% all the time, no matter what. So I don't know that there's an extra gear that everybody's been holding back that they can just unleash in the postseason. And then to expect that of people, that I expect you to have been holding back this whole year so that you can dig something out special in this postseason game. Not really, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that we put too much on this. It's an important game, but it's still just a game. That's it. And they're going to go out and they're going to do what they always do. And the Bears are going to go out and do what they always do. And we'll see who wins. And that's it. And if we don't win, it's not going to be because of some massive, thing that it's going to be because we lost Micah Parsons. It's going to be because we lost Tucker Kraft. It's going to be because, Elton Jenkins. It's going to be on and on and on and on. Wyatt. And it's been a very, Jordan hasn't played in 2 weeks because of, injury as well as sitting the last week. I mean, it's going the main reason by far, way down the list is because Rashaan Gary, didn't get a sack or something. The injuries are a massive and major thing. And again, I'm open to the Rashaan Gary stuff. I am not disagreeing that it's possible that he is gone next year. I'll put it that way. I think it's more likely they try to work something out, but they also are going to have to be expecting some reasonability from Rashaan based on everything. But, yeah, I think we need to get excited. We need to get up for this game, but we also need to not overreact to this game. I mean, we overreact to preseason games. We certainly overreact to regular season games. I don't know why we wouldn't massively overreact to postseason games. But, again, it's just a game. Mike Hebring.
Morning, Ryan. Mike
Morning.
Hebring, a.k.a. Packer Superfan.
What's going on?
Hey, Ryan, just listened to your pod this morning, and you brought something up that I think is very important. You're talking about guys who have to step up this week coming into the Chicago playoff game, and you talked about Jordan Love, and I could not agree more. My expectations weren't very high for this team coming into the season. I figured they'd win 9 games. And then when they signed Micah Parsons, I was thinking, well, maybe they'll win 10 games. But one thing I have said all along is that this team's going to go as far as Jordan goes.
Correct.
And I still believe that. Overall, I think he's had a very good season. But, he's a $55 million a year quarterback. And we really need him to step up this week and earn that paycheck. I mean, this is it. I mean, he's been a starting quarterback now for 3 years. He's been to the playoffs now. This will be the 3rd time. We need to see him put this team a little bit, if not entirely, on his back and completely destroy the Bears. I mean, Rodgers owned the Bears. We need Jordan Love to own the Bears.
Yeah.
And, we've already lost a couple games to them the last couple of years, so he's not on a great trend here. But
to be fair, he was injured and out in both of those losses. Not the entire game, but he didn't finish either of those games either.
We just really need Jordan to step up. I mean, he needs to earn that paycheck, and I think he's going to play well. He was pacing around. I think you mentioned a couple times in the live stream. He's pacing around on that sideline in Minnesota. You can just see the glare in his eye. He's like, just like he wanted to get out there. I think he's ready to go. And I'm predicting a big game from Jordan Love in this game. Doesn't mean we'll win the game, because I think we got all kinds of problems on defense. However, I think Jordan Love's going to go off. And quite honestly, he needs to. I mean, this is a legacy game for him, and it's going to tell us a lot about this team moving forward. Anyway, I'm excited about it. Can't wait for Saturday. Let's get this thing going.
No, I agree 100%. And you know, to clarify and wrap this all up in one conversation, because they all kind of go together. You know, we talk about Jordan Love being a $55 million man or whatever. I think he is, but there's a difference between how good you are and how consistent you are. And you know, if Jordan is playing well, he's worth every penny of that. Some people, that's the problem some people have is, oh, he's not worth 55. Yes, he is. You know, the expectation that he needs to be more, he needs to be bigger, he needs to do something. No, he doesn't. He needs to be exactly what he is. That doesn't mean he has to win games, because that depends on the rest of the team around him. But what I mean, and I think Mike would agree, is that we need Dallas Cowboys playoff game and not the you know, Philadelphia Eagles version of Jordan Love. We don't need the guy that's not playing well that throws a pick to end the game. Kind of thing. Not that was entirely his fault. He's playing hero ball because everything was going horribly. But, you know, we need Jordan to be at his best. There are certain guys that get paid a certain amount, and we need those guys to show up. Again, that doesn't mean 110%, but you don't get to have a bad day. You don't get to have a bad day. That's not excusable in this situation, right? You have to get up for this game. And, you know, again, coming back to Rashaan Gary, the whole reason that I was talking, I'm not saying Rashaan Gary doesn't need to play well. I'm saying one sack is not going to make the difference over the season in terms of what we think about him. If he gets a sack, that doesn't change the equation of he's not worth the contract and there needs to be a pay cut. Now, does he need to play well? Sure he does. Does that mean a sack? I don't know what that means. Whether he gets a sack or not is I mean, it'd be great if he gets 2-3 sacks. I don't know. But again, that more has to do with a disagreement on how bad he's actually been and how good he can be. And you know, sacks, I think, are a little bit more fleeting. He needs to play well. He needs to win his matchups. Whether that results in a sack is I mean, it's hard, especially with Caleb. Who knows? But he needs to do his job. He needs to set an edge. He needs to beat the tackle. After that, it's kind of up in the air what ends up happening, whether it's a pressure or a sack or what. But you need to beat the man in front of you is your job. And, you know, again, I mean, obviously that's the expectation for everyone. But the point is, once you get that paycheck, we've determined essentially that in these situations, we believe that you can be that guy. And there's just a higher expectation set for, you know, the Xavier McKinneys and the Jordan Loves and the, you know, Zach Toms, even though, you know, I know he's battling through some stuff. So it's going to be, I hate to say it, I'm going to lower the expectation for him, but, you know, if he has a bad day, I'm certainly not going to throw him under the bus. It's going to be because the guy's injured. He's been injured all year, et cetera, et cetera. But, yeah, no, I agree. You have to, you know, consistent. The bottom line in general is that consistency is a part of the equation. And if you're, you know, $55 million man 50% of the time, you're a bad quarterback. You know, it's. I don't know exactly what the number is. I know it's not 100. Nobody's 100%, but it's relatively close. I mean, how many dog crap games did Rodgers or Tom Brady have? You don't usually see bad games. There's some subpar games for sure, but it's, you know, a handful of elite games, mostly good games, a handful of mid-eh games, and very few to zero just dog crap games. In my mind, that is a $55 million man. And I don't know what causes the bad days. I don't know what causes the great games. But hopefully the quarterback can figure out what that trigger is and make sure that it happens in the postseason. That would be great. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate all the calls. Again, I'm hoping you guys will join me over on Patreon at patreon.com/pack_daddy. You can join. You can technically join for free. I don't really have a lot over there for free. But if you want to just at least get set up, you can do that. And then you'll get notifications and things. It'll just kind of be a way to hang around, I suppose. Actually, let me look at something real quick. Oh, and by the way, I keep forgetting to do this. If you haven't yet, they've given us the ability to vote for Packers Fan Hall of Fame inductees. If you don't have a dog in the fight, I would encourage all of you to head over to vote for the Packer Fan Hall of Fame and cast a vote for Dean Schmitz from Wausau, Wisconsin. That would be greatly appreciated. All right. You all have a great rest of your night. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.